16 years after the release of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and 4 years after the release of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, comes along a new entry in which a chainsaw can be known as family, and lightning can strike it like Thor, the god of thunder, which can bring to you Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. Yes, for some reason they have to put his name on the title just in case you forgot who he is. Pretty sure he's the big guy who wields a chainsaw and wears your face like we discussed beforehand, but anywho, this entry was distributed by New Line Cinema, who bought the rights to the Cannon Group, like how New Line Cinema bought the rights from Paramount for the character of Jason Voorhees, and just like the Jason movies, this film was limited by the MPAA, who gave it an X rating and cut scenes in which there was blood and gore, even though when they released the film on its own, with no cuts, the things we weren't supposed to see weren't even that grotesque. An ear blowing off? That doesn't even look real. Fingers being blown off? Leatherface wielding his chainsaw into a woman's chest that doesn't even show it in full detail, which sucks. And seeing this complete new line of families that we haven't seen before. I mean, Grandpa is still there, and Leatherface of course, but the more I see the new characters, the more I miss Chop Top and Drayton. There's a little girl in the family now, which kinda takes the franchise into a dark path, and I'll give them credit for it, because that little girl is sadistic, and a grandmother who speaks in voiceovers is new, but not better than Drayton. And then, two bibbling brothers who are like a horror sitcom version of Drake and Josh. Yep, that's the family, and I don't really care for any of them, not even the little girl. The poster of the movie says the most controversial horror film ever is finally here, though this movie didn't receive any controversy like the first one did, and it uses the word finally, so I'm assuming they're just talking about this film and not the first. But anywho, Leatherface takes a backseat to the new family and has become more of a moron than before, if that's possible, judging from what we've seen in the second film. He's playing with this little kid's toy with a clown on it. It tells him to identify the item in front of him, and he keeps spelling food? I don't get that at all. And he keeps doing it and gets pissed off. So Leatherface took another step back than before, especially with the MPAA involved now. But his design looks pretty kick-ass. He always looks great, until Texas Chainsaw 4, but we'll get to that later. The only two characters I really like is Ken Foree's character, Benny, who died in the original cut, but after test screenings were negative, he actually got to live in the movie. The sly man escaped death, got to wield a gun and say motherfucker, and fought Leatherface. And the second character I like is this guy. He's awesome.
Just shut up, stupid. You shut the fuck up, motherfucker. This is my place. I'll do whatever I want here in my place.
The rest, I could care less. The movie is shorter than the first film, only 81 minutes. Not enough time, especially since it moves at a fast pace like the first. And why the MPAA decided to stick their nose in this film, I don't know. I'm guessing they didn't see the second film. A guy getting his head split open, Leatherface dry humping a girl with a chainsaw, Chop Top picking and eating pieces of his head, and Dennis Hopper screaming like a lunatic and hitting someone in the back of the balls with a chainsaw and impaling Leatherface with that same chainsaw. It was madness, I tell ya, madness. So now, this movie all of a sudden did something to humanity? Maybe it was because New Line Cinema bought the rights. But alas, Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 is nothing special. It has moments, but in the short run, it's not as memorable. Maybe if Tobe Hooper came back, which he actually was open to doing, but scheduling conflicts caused that from happening, which sucked. And the same thing for the original actor, Gunnar Hansen, who they wanted back as well. But nope! So instead, this is the final outing that we're stuck with as the third entry in the Texas Chainsaw series. Enjoy it for what it is.
Clean that trap out, Brad. Clean it good. Oh, you motherfuckers, don't tell me what I should.